Hey all, today we're looking at this. This is my family's first Wi-Fi access point. This is an Apple AirPort base station. I believe it is the second generation. A little gem fell off the apple here, and there you got some status indicators, but it used 802.11b, had amazing speeds of 11 megabits per second, and supports WEP. We'll talk about that in a bit. On the back, we have our connectivity. This had a built-in 56K modem. We also had a WAN port for Ethernet and a LAN port as well, that's Ethernet. And we have our power, and we have a little hole to stick a pin in to do a factory reset. And we have a spot for a Kensington lock. And on the back, we have some information, and I'll blur out all of the MAC address stuff. So yeah, this is one of the earliest Wi-Fi access points. Interestingly, Robert Pera, an engineer who worked on Apple's AirPort, left the company and went on to found Ubiquiti Networks. My Ubiquiti access point looks a lot like this original Apple AirPort. Enough with that, let's plug this in. So I have it plugged into Ethernet, and it is online. Just a little to note, though, this uses 802.11b and WEP encryption. This thing is completely useless in the modern age. One, it's incredibly slow, and also WEP encryption is completely broken. You might as well just have an open AP in your home. These are not secure and should not be used other than a little novelty for a short period of time. I do not leave this plugged in. Enough with that, let's take a look at the software and then connect something to it. Okay, we're on Mac OS X Panther, and we're going to look at the admin utility. So over here, it just finds the AirPort base station, and we get our information such as the name, the IP, MAC address, AirPort ID, firmware, and last restart date. We'll go to configure, enter our password, and we have our configuration options. We can set the name, the contact, the location. I guess this is like if you're in an enterprise and you're trying to find the device. We have some additional options. These are for remote control such as SNMP and remote configuration. We also have the SSID. We have our encryption standard. We're using WEP 40-bit. You can go over here, and there's also the option for 128-bit and not enabled, but this is completely broken. You do not want to use WEP, and having this connected is a security risk. We have our channels. These are the standard 2.4 gigahertz channels. We have density, which is set to medium. Now we have our speed. If you're using medium, you cannot use 11, so you'd have to change that to high. Then you can get the full throughput, but we're just going to leave that alone for now. We have interface robustness. This sacrifices speed for exactly that, robustness of the network. Closed network, that hides the SSID. Internet, we're using Ethernet, but in theory, you could also use a modem or AOL, blah, blah, blah. Networking, we can distribute IP addresses if we want. I have that off. We're using the DHCP server of my home modem. We can enable PPP dial-in, which is pretty cool. I don't have a phone at home to test this with, but in theory, you could dial in, say, from a hotel into your home network as if you were an ISP, and that's pretty cool. So a bit of remote access technology. We have port mapping. I assume this is for like port forwarding. And then we have access control, so we can, I guess, control who can connect. And we also have radius, but we're not using that either. Pretty much covers up all the software side of things. So what we'll do is we'll connect a client and take a look. You know what? I am going to change this to high, and I'm going to change this to 11. Okie dokie. And we'll press update, and the base station will restart. So what we'll do now is we'll do a little speed test, and we'll also connect a legacy client for fun. One more thing and a pro tip. If for whatever reason you want to connect to one of these from a non-Apple device, you can go to base station, go to equivalent network password, and you can find this hex equivalent password. Sometimes the ASCII password just doesn't work, particularly with Windows machines, so you'll have to use the hex passwords. So I've done the unholy thing and connected this to my M1 MacBook Pro, and I thought we'd run a speed test with iPerf. So away we go. And it's connected to my iPerf server, and yeah, this is not very fast at all. It's already timing out, and it's just absolutely struggling. Yeah, cannot recommend this base station for anything other than novelty, as previously discussed. For those of you with a morbid sense of curiosity, this is the modern AirPort utility, and we'll try and connect. And we get this little error saying this version of AirPort utility doesn't support this base station. So yeah, we cannot configure this base station from a modern Mac. So I guess one neat thing is it only supports WEP, and so does the original Nintendo DS, so it does work with that. So we can go over to that, go to connection, and do test connectivity. And sure enough, it's going to connect just fine. I guess if you wanted to use an original Nintendo DS, it's a valid access point, but again, you wouldn't want to leave it connected very long, and you need a vintage Mac to configure it. So yeah, there are better options for this, but I thought that was fun. And that about wraps up this look at this vintage Apple AirPort base station. Did this bring back memories? What was your first base station? And yeah, thanks again for watching. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all those wonderful things. I'll see you next time. Bye.